By now, Karen and the HOA had demonstrated a consistent pattern of escalating audacity. Flooded lakes, sabotaged docks, Carolina Reaper humiliations, snake defenses, immobilized junkyard vehicles, river manipulations, willow tree confrontations, biker gang interventions, explosive raids, thwarted lock tampering, ladder spying, hotel flooding, pit-trapped patrol trucks, powerless power lines, surprise crocodiles, immobilized tow trucks, $20 million fines, concrete hedge walls, glued locks, lake fines, sliding SUVs, gasoline pump EV pranks, pontoon boat fines, and the sheriff confrontation. Yet their arrogance still reached new heights when they decided to drain my wetlands sanctuary under the pretext of community flood management. It started with a notice pinned to the main gate. Karen's signature was unmistakable, accompanied by a laundry list of supposed violations and demands to drain the wetlands immediately, claiming that the standing water was a danger to their neighborhood. The audacity of the claim was staggering. The wetlands had been meticulously protected, supporting endangered species, purifying local water, and preserving natural flood control. The HOA had clearly assumed that their threats would intimidate me into compliance. They couldn't have been more wrong. I immediately activated the surveillance network, observing Karen and her team arriving with pumps, trucks, and excavation equipment. They approached as though victory were guaranteed, unaware that their actions would trigger a cascade of consequences they could not anticipate. Ranger patrolled the property edges, his presence alone a warning of the chaos that awaited them, while Grandpa monitored remotely, ready to initiate contingency measures. As the equipment began operation, I calmly addressed the intruders through the intercom system. Karen, your actions constitute trespass, environmental violation, and property destruction. You are on private land. You are unauthorized to manipulate or drain these wetlands. Cease immediately or face legal, financial, and environmental consequences. Her initial bravado faltered slightly, but she pressed on, convinced that physical presence equaled authority. The first stage of my countermeasure involved environmental manipulation. Over the preceding months, the wetlands had been engineered with concealed sluices, levees, and flood channels. The moment the pumps engaged, I remotely opened multiple sluices, diverting controlled water flows back toward the areas occupied by the HOA. The ground became soft, the pumps struggled, and the machinery was bogged down in mud and water. Karen's crew, caught unprepared, found themselves trapped on the very property they had hoped to dominate. Next came the psychological and legal phase. Drones hovered overhead, capturing every panicked movement, every shouted order, and every frustrated attempt to regain control. The intercom system broadcast a measured message. Your attempts at unauthorized environmental manipulation are recorded. You are subject to fines, legal action, and immediate trespass penalties. Any damage caused to the ecosystem will be billed to you personally. Karen's confidence eroded further as the reality set in. Her repeated assumption of authority over my property had placed her and her team in direct violation of multiple state and federal laws. Then came the final act, controlled flooding. Using remote valves and my legal control over adjacent waterways, I redirected water back toward the HOA neighborhood in precise volumes. Roads became impassable, lawns flooded, and landscaping was compromised. Not enough to harm residents, but enough to deliver a clear and unforgettable lesson. Karen's panic was visible as she realized the irony. The very property she had claimed to protect was now vulnerable to the consequences of her own arrogance. By mid-afternoon, the HOA crew had retreated, humiliated, and legally exposed. The wetlands remained pristine, teeming with life and functioning as intended, while Karen and her associates were left to confront the implications of their audacity. Legal notices were issued for trespass, attempted environmental destruction, and unauthorized property manipulation, reinforcing the absolute authority I maintained over my land. Reflecting on the incident, it became evident that this confrontation further solidified a crucial principle. Audacity without understanding, arrogance without foresight, and trespass without consequence are met with immediate, strategic, and overwhelming responses. Ranger patrolled silently, drones hovered in observation, and the wetlands sanctuary stood as a symbol of preparation, authority, and meticulous planning. By evening, calm returned. Karen and the HOA had been forced to acknowledge that their repeated attempts to overstep boundaries, manipulate resources, and intimidate property owners are met with consequences that are absolute, enforceable, and unforgettable. On my property, trespass is punished, arrogance is exposed, and every act of audacity is recorded for posterity, a warning that will resonate far beyond the day's events.